Welcome to Ha Giang. For the next 4 days, I'm going to be riding with Road Kings for the ultimate Ha Giang Loop road trip. Come with me as I show you the best things to do, what to expect, what to bring, the food, the culture. This is the ultimate guide, everything you need to know. So let's go. Alright, so I did the Ha Giang Loop in November 2025, and in this video I'm going to break down everything you need to know before you go, or maybe convince you to finally book that trip. Here's everything we're going to be covering. Feel free to jump to different sections as you need. The timestamps are all going to be down below in the description, but I would recommend just watching the whole thing because it's going to give you the best overview of the Ha Giang Loop, so you're fully prepared for everything. So if you don't know what the Ha Giang Loop is, it's a 3 to 4 day motorbike adventure up in the mountains of northern Vietnam, right at the very top near the border of China. It's an incredible adventure, one of the best things you can do, not just in Vietnam, but in the whole of Southeast Asia, in my opinion. Think open winding roads, incredible scenery, unreal viewpoints, out in nature, waterfalls, caves, connecting with really local rural Vietnamese villages and learning about Vietnamese culture, and with a bunch of strangers that become friends along the way. I did the premium tour with a company called Road Kings, and I'd thoroughly recommend them. This is the itinerary we did across the 4 days. You can also do a 3-day tour, and you can also do a basic tour. The basic tour is with hostel accommodation. The premium tour, which is what I did, comes with private accommodation and a homestay each night. If you're riding with Road Kings or another company, it will be a similar case of you'll have a rough itinerary, but depending on the weather and road conditions, it might shift around a little bit. For example, on day 4, we didn't get a chance to go to the big waterfall because it was a very rainy day, so it was slippery and the conditions were too dangerous. But this is roughly what you'll do on the 4 days. For me, I thought the tour was perfectly balanced. It was a real great mix of adventure, time spent out on the roads, culture. You know, we visited lots of Vietnamese villages, but there was also a lot of time spent in nature, waterfalls, caves. But on top of all that, there was also a lot of downtime where you can socialize with your group. The group sizes with Road Kings as well, very small and intimate. You're looking at 8 to 9 people max. There are some tour companies where you're going to be in groups of up to 20 people, which is more of a party vibe, and that's fine if that's your kind of thing. If you're looking for a more laid back, intimate group vibe, less party vibe, Road Kings is definitely the company I would recommend. And although it's not a party vibe, there's still a lot of fun to be had in the evenings. So when you book with Road Kings, you'll communicate with them where you need to be picked up from. For me, I landed in Hanoi at the airport, and they arranged a sleeper bus to pick me up just outside of Hanoi. It's about a 5.5 to 6 hour journey from Hanoi to Ha Giang town. And once there, you'll stay in their hostel the night before your tour starts. Where I stayed wasn't actually Road Kings hostel, because I think their hostel was being affected by the flooding that happened in October 2025. But the hostel that I did stay out was really nice, comfy. The next morning, you meet to roughly around 8:30 a.m. You meet your group, you get given your wristbands. Road Kings team will run you through the itinerary in more detail, and then you'll go out and you'll meet your easy rider. One of the best parts of the trip for me was the adventure experiences that you have. I think a lot of people think that you're just on the back of a bike for the whole 4 days, and whilst there is a lot of driving, it's usually broken up every 30 to 40 minutes, and there's a lot of adventure stops along the way. So we did sort of cliff jumping from waterfalls, bamboo rafting, we went down some into amazing caves. We also hiked around 400 steps up to the top of this mountain and went into some deep caves, and it was actually very taxing. One thing I would advise you is be prepared for physical activity, because a lot of people struggled with 400 step climb up those mountains, and it was in rainy conditions as well. So for me, I thought the adventure experience was great because it broke up the time spent on the bikes really well. Another part of the trip with Road Kings that I really loved was the mix of culture that was thrown in. I think a lot of tours focus on, partying side of it, and obviously you have time spent on the bikes and you do the viewpoints and some of the adventure experiences, but I think less time is given to the cultural experiences, which for me, if you're coming to Vietnam for the first time, is really important, but also eye-opening and a heartwarming experience as well. We went to some really local villages. We went to like a handmade silver making workshop where a local family had been making silver by hand for generations. And it was just really cool to see that in action. On top of that, we also had like the karaoke nights, the family style dinners, which I think were a great part of the trip as well. It's not just traditional restaurants, it's a real family feel. You're getting to know the people in your group, getting to experience how local people in Vietnam eat together. Of course, we have the viewpoints and coffee stops, which are arguably, the best part of the Ha Giang Loop. Everyone does them. Every 30 to 40 minutes, you'll stop off either at a coffee shop or a viewpoint, or sometimes a coffee shop that has a viewpoint. And I think for me, the best stop came on day 2, where we went to the border of China, and the coffee shop there was literally nestled on the top of the cliff edge, and you could look out right to the other side of the mountains, which is where China was. You'll definitely get some of the best memories on those coffee stops and viewpoints. The other one for me was the skywalk, they call it, where you kind of hike up to the top of this cliff edge, and then there's a little walkway that you can stand on. Not everyone did it because it's quite nerve-wracking, but it was really cool, you know, you're standing on there, looking around, it's like you're on top of the world. Of course, we have the open roads, the part that everyone remembers. For me, there's no better feeling in the world being on the back of those bikes. Every turn, every corner, just the most beautiful, incredible mountain scenery that you'll ever see. The freedom, the peace you have up on those mountains and the open roads. You're forced to be fully present, grounded. It's just impossible to explain really until you're actually out there. All right, so the accommodation. Like I said, I did the premium tour with Road King, so I stayed in private accommodation each night in homestays. And first of all, don't expect 5-star luxury. You know, you're in the mountains of northern Vietnam. Hotels aren't really a thing unless you're staying in Ha Giang town. Up on the loop, there are no real hotels. It's homestays, which I loved. Some of them are very rustic, but they all have a unique charm about them. And they're comfortable rooms, you know. Good Wi-Fi, hot water, cozy, warm. And after a long day on the bikes, I found it was great just to have, you know, your own space to settle down in for the night. A lot of the homestays were beautiful. We had some amazing dinners there, karaoke each night, very friendly owners, and they brought some really unique experiences as well. The most unique was in Nam Dam village. All the houses, homestays are made out of clay, which was the first for me. You know, the walls, like, they've got rustic cracks in them, but again, it was still very cozy, very warm. But yeah, I love the accommodation, and I'll 100% stay in all of those rooms again. All right, we can't not talk about the food. The food was absolutely incredible, and you'll be well fed every single day of the trip. On the premium tour with Road Kings, you get your breakfast, your lunches, your dinners, lots of drinks, coffees, all included in your price. For the breakfast, you order the night before. It's usually the similar kind of thing, pho, banh mi, or pancakes. And then lunches and dinners, kind of similar, but it's family style dinner. So you don't order anything, they just bring you out lots of different plates of food, usually, you know, noodles, rice, chicken dishes, pork dishes, beef dishes, vegetables. You know, it was a huge amount of food. So with the weather in November is generally a good time to do the loop, which is why I chose November to do it. But it's still a mixed bag, and you need to be prepared for all 4 seasons. Doing the loop in November, you know, there'll be some dry days, there'll be some sunny days, and there might be some rain. So with that, varying temperatures, you'll be warm, you'll be cold, you'll be kind of in between. So I think it's really important to bring layers. So let's come on to what to pack. Made some notes here. So make sure you have shorts, trousers, hoodie, and warm layers, because there's gonna be some days where you're hot, you're gonna need shorts and a t-shirt. Some days where you're cold, you're gonna need hoodie, trousers, that kind of thing. Sandals and trainers. I didn't actually bring my sandals, which was a big mistake, because on the days where it rained, my trainers got absolutely filthy. Obviously basics, socks, underwear, make sure you've got enough. Bring hand sanitizer, tissues, maybe toilet paper. Some of the toilets out on the loop when you're making the stops at various different points and coffee shops don't have toilet rolls, don't have hand wash. So the sanitizer and the tissues that I brought with me were a lifesaver, because otherwise you're going to be going to the toilets, not being able to wash your hands, and you're just going to be feeling a bit grim. Deodorant, mosquito spray. There are mosquitoes up in those mountains. Bring a bum bag. You're carrying all your baggage with you, but your easy driver will put it on the back of the bike just before you set off in the morning, and it gets packed away tightly, so it's a bit of a faff if you need to get anything out. So having the bum bag, you can put the essentials in there that you need for the day. Portable charger. I didn't bring a portable charger. I wish I had, because there were many times where my battery was running really low. Sunscreen is a must as well. Days 1, 3, and 4, didn't really need sun cream, but on day 2 it was very sunny, and when that sun's out in Vietnam, it's even up in the mountains, it's really strong, and I did get slightly burnt on my face that day. Quick dry towel was useful as well, because we swam in caves, we went to waterfalls and swam around, so having an easy dry towel is really handy for quickly drying off. Bring some toiletries with you as well. Most of the homestays have everything covered, like toothpaste and toothbrush, but it's still handy to bring in extra things with you just in case. All right, so here are some frequently asked questions. I did get asked some of these whilst I was doing the loop and afterwards. So how much are the tours? So I did the tour with Road Kings. I did their premium tour, which includes private accommodation each night, and that was $299. They do have a basic option where you stay in hostels, and that was $239. What's included in your tour, you can look at it as a kind of all-inclusive type vibe where you pay $299 for the premium tour, and that includes your easy rider who's going to drive you around for the whole 4 days whilst you sit on the back. It's going to include all your accommodation. It's going to include breakfast, lunch, dinner, coffees, water, drinks, nearly all the activities and the stops along the way, which I think is well worth the money. With spending money, I don't think you'll need much at all. I probably spent about £20 throughout the 4 days, maybe, which is, I don't know, maybe like 800,000 Vietnamese dong. And that just covered kind of a few extra drinks here and there, some snacks, souvenirs, and dinner back in Ha Giang at the end of the tour. And I would also recommend bringing some extra money to tip your easy driver at the end of the tour. If you ride yourself, you do need an international driver's license. You can drive without one. One of the guys in my group didn't have an international driver's license. He was still able to go and drive for the full 4 days, but he did have to pay 2.5 million dong, which is about $100 fine, right at the start of the loop. You pay that once, and that covers you for the rest of the trip. There will be more police checks along the way, but they'll let you go once you pay that initial fine. If you've got an easy driver where someone's driving you, you don't have to worry about that. In terms of best seasons, I did it in November, and I thought that was a really great time to do it. And from research, I know that is generally a very good time to do it, so I would recommend doing November. Outside of that, March to May is also a good time. It can be a bit cold in March into April, but it's generally a dry time of the year up in the mountains. So final thoughts, just enjoy it. You know, it's going to be one of the most incredible experiences you're ever going to have. Embrace the chaos. There will be chaotic times as Vietnam, but there'll be a lot of quiet, peaceful moments where it's just you and your group out on the roads. So just embrace it. Embrace being out in nature, making friends and great memories with the people in your group, and just live it, really live it, because honestly, it was one of the best things I've ever done. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop them down below, and I'll speak to you in the next one.